You can have a successful business and still feel completely alone because growth doesn't just require strategy. It requires the right people in your corner. If you've been building your business in isolation, this episode might be what changes everything. Welcome to Female Founder Unplugged, the show where we cut through the noise and have a real, raw conversation about what it takes to build and scale a successful business as a female entrepreneur. I'm Lindsay White, people strategy expert, leadership coach, and fellow founder. And I know firsthand the challenges of scaling sustainably and staying connected to your passion along the way. This podcast is for ambitious women just like you, seasoned founders and CEOs navigating the challenges of leadership, team building, and sustainable growth. In each episode, we'll dive into those topics that are most important to you as a female founder. You'll hear honest, no BS conversations about building, growing, and leading a team and culture so that you can grow without losing yourself in the process. Because let's be real, entrepreneurship can feel isolating and leadership doesn't come with a roadmap. If you've ever struggled with the pressure of running a business, felt overwhelmed by growing your team, or wondered, how do I scale without sacrificing my vision and my purpose? You're in the right place. Let's get unplugged. Welcome, everyone, to another great episode of the Female Founder Unplugged podcast. And today is going to be super unplugged. I know it already, even before we hit record. We were doing some serious chatting. We've got so much to talk about. Christina, thank you for being a guest on the show today. I'm super excited to have you. And this has been a long time coming.
Yes, so excited.
We have two pretty busy ladies with two pretty full calendars, and it takes a while to get organized. But I'm so excited to have this chat today. You know, first and foremost, tell us a little bit about you, how you became a female founder, what you got cooking, what's going on?
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Christina Bartold, and I am the co-founder of The Social Snippet. We're a social media and podcasting agency. We work with about 85 entrepreneurs to help them build a community online. And then we also have our Social Business Club, which is our membership where we coach people on how to do their own social. And then I have this thing that felt like a side hustle, but now is definitely a full hustle. And it's called High Vibe Women. And me and my business partner, we're just like really dreaming up like more community in Canada for female founders, for entrepreneurs. And so we started High Vibe Women, where we've been running events primarily in Ontario and really bringing women together to like make magic in their business. And really where that came from was that Maria and I, we kind of had another venture prior to The Social Snippet, and we did a lot of social media, and really like everything that we did kind of sold out because we were selling on social. And then people started asking us like, how do you do this? Like, how did this happen? And, social media was this thing that I'd always kind of done on the side, but never really like talked about. And, I have a master's in leadership, and I kind of like was really like, okay, like I couldn't do social media. That couldn't be my full-time thing. So we leaned into it finally in May of 2021, kind of went full force on it. And we've been kind of growing ever since, but really like our heart is in helping entrepreneurs like build their communities and really use social as a way to make impact. And so that's really the kind of how I became a female founder, but also why we started High Vibe Women was because we really wanted women to have more connection. And we noticed that people were building kind of in the dark, and they were building in a lonely way when there's just so much opportunity for us to be coming together, sharing secrets, being able to lift each other up and get each other to the next level. And that's how our business scaled so quickly, was us networking. So we wanted to create that same space for other women.
Love it. I love it. And especially Canadian chicks. Because come on, Canadian girls rock. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And there just isn't a ton of space for us, I think. Like, I really like a big part of why our business grew so fast is because we were going to the US all the time, and we were going to events, and we were meeting other people there and really building those referral partnerships. But what was actually the most interesting part of it is we would go to the US and we'd be sitting there, and I'd be like, oh, hey, like, where are you from? And they'd be like, Halifax. Or like Burlington. Like, why are we meeting in Scottsdale? Like, so most of my business friends, my close business friends, like Stacey Millard and Jeanette Downey, like lots of these women who are amazing, I've actually met in the US, and then was kind of like, we need to get something going.
Wait a second.
Yes. So,
okay. So shout out to our friend, our bestie, Stacey Millard. I may actually, she's coming to my neck of the woods this week. And so I'm hoping to actually meet her in person, which is always nice too. I mean, virtual's great. Don't get me wrong, but just like eyeball to eyeball, That's pretty cool when you can reach out and touch somebody. But yes, I mean, let's be clear. We love our American cousins.
Yeah,
Love
totally.
working with those crazy group of chicks. Like, honestly, what an incredible group of humans I get to work with. And we have some overlap in our network. And so we love them, but it is really powerful to think about how many incredible female entrepreneurs are right here in our neighborhood and how cool those women are and what incredible businesses they have built. I love that.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it's like we really underrate like how much these women like have accomplished. Like, even like in a stone's throw, I have friends who are multi-seven-figure entrepreneurs who have no business friends, like, and have just started building business relationships. And I know that business relationships get us further, right? And so that's why it's been so, lots of Americans come to our events. We love having them, but the events are in Canada for a reason. And so really want to bring, this community of entrepreneurs together.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. You talked about, and in this show in particular, I mean, I am all about leadership, people strategy, culture, 3 important pillars, part of my framework in terms of how I support female founders and small business owners in building their business. And you mentioned you have a real background in leadership. And I'd love to talk to you more about that. I mean, I know you do social and network and stuff, but like, tell me about what does it mean to you to be a leader in like your business, but also your network? What does that mean for you?
Yeah, so it's so interesting because I think leadership is one of those things that's like such a buzzword, right? Where like people use it and they're kind of like, it could literally mean anything. I started my career working in higher ed. So that's what I did for almost 10 years and managed teams and loved that. And really saw so much of, was a Myers-Briggs facilitator, like so many things, like love that stuff. And still to this day, like a lot of those like foundational skills that I learned, especially in my master's, are what like lead me today and like what I think helped me lead our team and help me with that. But I think when I think about leadership in this space, it's interesting. There's like one piece of it, which is, I think, leadership in a digital space, right? Like when you've got a digital team like that, which we have some core members, like I'm in our office right now, but we have a lot of digital team. Like how do we exercise that leadership? So that's one piece of the kind of pie for me that I've been really passionate about is like, how do I continue to develop that skill and continue to help like my team grow and get to their next level. But the second piece of it too has been like, even in our networks, like I think there's something to be said around like, how do we show up like with a lot of integrity? How do we show up with generosity? How do we show up with kindness? And that leadership, you start to become a leader. You start to become an authority when you start to do that. And so something I've been really passionate about, and I think a lot of people in my network would probably agree with this, is that I love to connect people and I love to show people like, hey, like, this person's looking to be on more podcasts. Here's 5 podcasts they should be on. Or this person's looking for clients. And I remember that they were, offering this thing and someone else was looking for this thing. Let me make that connection for them. Like that's been my way of exercising some leadership, is by trying to be as generous as possible with my network and really making those connections for people, because I know that those connections are what can change people's businesses.
I love that. And you mentioned some things like, for me, leadership is so deeply based in our own personal values, right? And that's how we show up authentically. And you use some really great language there that I want to point out. I mean, certainly generosity, that reciprocity, that what you give, you get back more than you gave out in the first place. Connection. Like as a leader, that's what we're supposed to do, is actually help create connection, foster that, grow that. I love that. Kindness. The world needs way more kindness right now.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And matched with the generosity, right? I love that we can be bold. You didn't say that word, but certainly you're very bold in your lead. Like, this is who I am, and it's very authentic. And I think that's exactly what it means to be a great leader. It's like leaning into the things that are most important to us. And you said it, helping others find what is key to unlock their expertise, their own best self, which is so important.
Well, and I find too, when you lead from that place of really coming at it with generosity and kindness and like really like even like, I think you start to really yield the benefits of it long term. Like I've even thought about, some people who I've made tons of intros for. They bend over backwards to make introductions for me. And I'm like, no need. Like, I was like, you don't need to chase these people like down for social media. Like it's all great. But people are so sweet and like wanting to repay that. And I think even as being a leader of people, like as you have the team, like really trying to like develop them. Like I'm always like, what's your next step? Like, what do you want? I also, for our team, I recognize they probably won't work with us forever. And like, what can we do to set them up for success in the future? And what skills, even one of my team members, he's amazing. And I'm always kind of like, never leave me. Like you have to come to all businesses with me. But he was kind of talking to me about how he was like, I've done so many things. I don't know how I'm ever going to put them down on a resume. And I was like, when you get to that point where that's what you want, let's sit down and talk about it. Like, and I'm really open to that. And I think really when you're kind of more others focused in growing your business, I do think you really yield the results of it from your network and your community.
You know what? I definitely do. I have this philosophy, and you tell me if you agree. When you have a team that is happy and high performing, like they feel great about working for you and great about the work they're producing, they make your clients happy. And when your clients are happy, they bring you more work and they bring you more clients, which ultimately means that your revenue grows.
Yeah.
And you have a really beautiful ecosystem, right? Inside of your business and outside. Because your clients are talking about you, your network is sharing about you, your own people that are working for you, whether they're consultants or employees, are telling people that I have the best time working. I get to work with great clients. I'm enabled to do my best work, and I continue to grow. I'm learning.
Yes.
Wow. That's powerful. That creates real energy in a business that skyrockets growth. That's my philosophy.
Totally. No, I see it the same way. And I think that's something we really try to instill with our team is kind of like, when you're having a great time, you love on our clients, like they love on us back. Like, and we see that all the time where like we'll have clients like, Stacey's such a great example. Stacey's been a client of ours pre us kind of even becoming really friends. Yeah. And, we become really close friends over these last few years. But a big piece of like, she's been a huge referral source for us. And she's the first person to be like, Christina and her team do all of our marketing. Like she's the best. Like you guys talk to Christina about it. And I'm happy to get on the phone with anybody she brings to me because I'm like, like even if I can't help them, I can help them around like finding the right person or whatever that looks like. And I think, like as much as we can lead from that place, and sometimes that can be hard as a business owner because I do think, sometimes you get into scarcity or you're in a tough season and sometimes these things don't feel like much of a priority. But as much as we can stay in that energy, that's where I think that a lot of the magic can happen.
Yeah. No, you know what? And I think you're right. And especially in a period of time where it feels very uncertain, it has, we've come out of COVID. It continues to feel uncertain. And sometimes that does feel really tricky. Like, how do I stay in that place where I am willing to give generously? And I think you're right. I really believe that when you give it, you receive it at least 10 times, right?
Totally.
And that it comes back to you. And that is really key, especially as a leader, because you are giving a lot of yourself. You're giving it to your people. You're giving it to your clients. You're giving it in your network. And you have to stay in that space of giving.
And if you're a leader, like especially like of a team, there is also an element of the fact that like you need to be the leader of like the temperament of the team.
Yeah.
So something that, we joke about on my team because I'm a super high, super low kind of person when it comes to entrepreneurship. Like I'm like in the roller coaster. And Maria, my business partner, is a lot more like, better days are coming, worse days have been. And like, while I'm much more, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, look, we had such an amazing month. Like, let's buy that yacht. And then now, and even we're in a different season, this month or this past month where, we had a trickier month in business where I'm kind of like, do we shut this down? Like, has this been a good run? Like, do we feel good? Right. Yeah. But it's also important when you are the leader of your team, how do you model that? Right. Like, and I noticed actually early on that like, because I'm so extroverted, like, it's like people could really see like when I would feel that and like they could feel. And so I really have had to work as a leader to be able to manage that so that I'm kind of like, hey, I don't want to create any like false fear for anybody because the next month's gonna be great. But like also like I need to be honest. And so trying to find that way of like, when you're in scarcity, like what mindset tricks can you continue to work on so that you're still in a great space and that better days are upon.
Okay, so I have the trick for you, and I'll tell you about it in a minute because if you're asking about it, everybody else is too. But I love what you said there. And what I would call that is that you have to be a culture champion. Like as the leader in your business, you are the champion of the culture. Yeah. And culture is really how we get work done together. That's the simplest. I mean, there's lots of really cool, complicated definitions, but the simplest one is how we work together, how we get our work done. And so as the leader in our business, not just the business owner, but the leader in our business, we are absolutely out in front, and people are turning and looking to us to see how they are to approach the work. And when we approach it with calm confidence, with focused decision-making, and with a real energy around like intentional action is maybe the way I would put it, we create a space where people are like, okay, yeah, we didn't light it on fire this month, but look at how we're trending. Look at the big picture. Look at what we're working on next. Look at the clients in the pipeline. Look at the new, okay. All right. So now I can clearly see the trajectory is moving upward. Yeah. This month wasn't the greatest month. That's okay. We got this, right?
Yes, totally.
And when we project that, when we help people understand that, and I get it. I mean, I'm like you, wear my heart on my sleeve, right? We have a little trouble with the poker. We don't play poker. I love that. But that you really recognize, Christina, that you are the culture champion. You lead that in your business, and that you have to show up in a way that inspires confidence for others.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that's an element that is sometimes really lacking. We don't recognize that that's part of the role.
Yeah, and I actually think that's how like a lot of toxic, like especially entrepreneur situations happen, right? Is like when we feel scared, like, and this is something I've had to really work on as an entrepreneur, is like not owning other people's stuff, right? Because when you do work, like we have 85 clients, so you can imagine we work in 85 people's different businesses. We see them when they are, remortgaging their homes, and we see them when they have their first 7-figure month. And so we are with them that whole time. And so you can see in people's actions, like where they come from. And I think that I used to take that kind of stuff really personally. Like I remember if we ever had client turnover, I would be like, oh, like, what does that say about us? And then when I had to start being like, oh, actually, that's not a service I think we need anymore. Like, and actually, I don't think we need this anymore. Or that hasn't moved the needle in 6 months. And so that's not actually something we should be paying for anymore. I realize how like impersonal it really is. And so I think, the toxicity that can come from being on that wavelength with people, I think is so important as a CEO or as an entrepreneur, is for you to be able to really realize that all you can manage is yourself. And so being able to stay in that is really important.
It is absolutely crucial. And I will tell you, one of the most important things is our own head trash, like the trash talk in our own head. You're nodding. She's nodding very deeply.
Totally.
It is. And we have to be able to manage our saboteur conversation. Like, what is that snarky, mean voice in our own head saying that is keeping us feeling like I lost the client? What did I do? I didn't do enough. I didn't work hard enough. I'm not smart enough. They don't love me anymore. All of these things, right? That we really deeply internalize. We beat ourselves up. And in fact, sometimes it really just is a business decision.
Totally.
We can't make them do anything.
Yeah. Totally.
They're their own business owner. They get to make choices. And sometimes it works out awesome. And sometimes it doesn't. And we deliver the best we can in our space. And we have to allow them to run their own business.
Totally. And I think that's another piece too, is this idea of like not loving other people's businesses, like, like they're yours. And I think as service providers, that's something I used to really fall into. I have a few clients where I probably know their business. I would say probably as well as they do, like, and the marketing behind their business and all of that. But
I'm sure
but at the same time, I can't own the results of their business.
Absolutely.
And so, this is actually why I don't coach. And like, this is like a hot topic, but I get asked this all the time where people will be like, would you coach me for a few months? Like, would you do some consulting with me? I don't do it because when people don't listen to me, I get upset. And so it's just not, and I own it. So I'm just like, it's not a good fit for me and my mental health, because when we come back week after week and you haven't done the things that I know work, I can't watch you fail. Like, I just can't. I'm going to do it for you. And so I just like, I know that that's not a healthy space for me. So I just don't do it. So I don't know. There's coaches out there for a reason, right? I don't have to be one of them. Yeah.
If you're having trouble figuring out, Christina's told you what to do and you can't figure out why you're not doing it, then call me and I'll help you get underneath that, because there's clearly something else going on. And likely it is your own head trash.
Yeah.
Saboteur conversation. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Nobody's going to want to work with me. I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm going to fail. I'm going to disappoint everybody. That's what, honestly, having worked with female entrepreneurs for the last 5 or 6 years, those are the common conversations.
Yes.
They're not real. The saboteur is lying to you. It's all bullshit. call me. I'll help you figure that out. And then you can go back to Christina. She'll tell you what to do. You'll do it and everybody will be happy. And it'll be a wild success. No, but I think, we have to be really conscious of that as leaders in our business, because you're right. You said it. We can really show up and impact all of those people around us through the ripples. Mm-hmm. Our team, our consultants, our vendors, our clients. If we want it worse than the client does, what does that do in that relationship?
Yeah, totally.
Right? We start to take over. And then what we're doing, we're disengaging them, right? Mm-hmm. We're making it about us, not about them. It's their journey. And we have to manage that very carefully. That's why I do the positive intelligence work with female entrepreneurs, so we can actually really get a grip on that conversation and actually have the tools to quiet all of that head trash. Because man, that can be impactful.
Totally. Well, I was going to say too, I think it's really interesting that when we try to own all of these things for other people too, how impactful that can be on us, on our businesses. And even one of the things I just always need to tell people is sometimes you're just not a good fit to work with other people. And you get a reputation around that. And so it's funny, there was a person I knew a long time ago, when we first started our business, and I was this person's a literal monster. But I took it so personally. I was why can't I work with them? What is wrong? I can't believe it. And then shortly after, I'd met somebody and they were like, you have this mutual connection. And I was like, yeah. And I didn't want to say anything. And they were like,
you've heard me talk about the LPC Accelerator. It's where we do the real work, the leadership strategy, the people systems, and culture that actually holds when things get hard. It's part one-on-one coaching, part mastermind, and it's all about helping you lead with clarity, not chaos. If you've been listening and thinking, this is what I've been missing, our next cohort kicks off March the 2nd, and there's a spot for you. If you want to grow without burning out, this is the room to be in. You can send me a DM today to learn more, or check out the link in the show notes, and it'll take you right to the page.
Well, yeah, I had to go to therapy after working with them. It was really difficult, which is horrible. But people, you get a reputation for these things. And I think if you're treating contractors poorly, if you're treating vendors poorly, if you're treating your clients poorly, friends, people start to talk. And so I think that's why I think really maintaining that positive mindset and really thinking about that self-leadership and what that looks like is so important. And owning oh God, I didn't have a good month and I didn't love how I showed up there. And Lindsay, you and I were kind of talking about this, before this, where I was I'm so sorry, about rescheduling this so much. I'm in a season, I'm pregnant. I'm in the different season of life I'm not used to. My schedule's been really crazy. I'm napping 24/7. Not used to all these naps. But just owning that rather than, being it doesn't matter. It's other people's time, right? It's there's such a different way to approach things. And I think when we come after things with such or we try to come at things with a lot of integrity and kindness and that makes a big difference.
Yes. And I think, I work. So first of all, I want to say Christina that was one of the first things she said to me is I'm such an asshole. I've rescheduled on you so many times. And I was no, we need to have empathy first and foremost for ourselves. When I see a business owner that is super hard on themselves and and are saying things I'm terrible and I can't and I won't and I'm never going to, I know that the first thing they need is to be able to develop that empathy muscle for themselves. If they're doing that for their team, right, that they're really hard on the team, they don't have a great deal of understanding and empathy, I know that they're 10 times harder internally. But that's one of the first things we can do is have empathy for each other.
Yeah.
We know what it's like to be pregnant and have that be super disruptive, right?
I'm so tired.
So tired. You're literally gestating another human. It's a shitload of work, my friend. Your body is actually developing a human and a whole nother organ. Hello? Wow. That level of energetic output or input, I guess, is a better way to put it. I can have empathy for that.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate the apology and also recognize that you're not doing it on purpose. You're doing it because you really are in a space where it's tricky for you. Mm-hmm. So I can have empathy for that. If we can bring that to to ourselves first, to our team and our clients, man, we can let go of some of that need to control everything that it has to be perfect all the time or it's trash. That's just not true, right? We can move and ebb and flow with our business, with our team, with our clients. And I'll tell you what, we can cut down on things like turnover in our staff, turnover in our clients, right? That in itself is going to stabilize business and revenue. And it's absolutely key to being successful. This stuff is not airy fairy woo woo bullshit. It is for real. It impacts the bottom line.
100%. Yeah. And I think the empathy piece is so crucial, right? Because even like, I think the way that we allow other people to show up, we often show up with a lot of empathy, right? But like for ourselves, it's like, even I think about seasons that have been more difficult in business for us, like often my initial reaction is like, I need to work harder. Like, oh, I'm not working as hard. And it's
not
like
working hard enough. Yep.
Yeah. And I think like really, I would never expect that from a team member.
No.
Like I would never go to one of my staff and be like, we had a tough month, like put in an extra 10 hours.
Yeah,
like,
you need to double down. Yeah.
Yeah, like never, right? And so I think it's exercising that grace for ourselves. And yeah, this has been definitely like a really good like season for me to learn a lot about that. And just be honest with people. And this is actually something that I think is really interesting as well, is that like, this is the first season I've ever been in where I've been like, I'm not going to go to that meeting.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, that person reached out for a coffee chat. And like, unfortunately, like we've met 5 times and nothing has come of that. And like, as much as I love connecting with people, I can't do it all day. Yeah. And so I'm going to just like politely decline and say, thank you so much. And if they need anything via email, I'm happy to help. Yeah. But like, that is such, from like a people pleaser perspective.
Yes.
Like I would get on these calls with people like over and over and over and over and over again. And then I'd be like, well, this actually like, I'm just coaching. I'm literally coaching this person, which is like, I'm happy to be in a generous spirit, but there's also a line to that. Right. And so
yes,
I think finding that is important too.
You know what I've uncovered? Because I think you're right. And I'm a pleaser and a hyperachiever like you, right? I run around making everybody else happy. And then I always want the gold star. Right? Like I'm always looking for approval for people to, to say you're doing great. Look at how success, right? And that we're hustling. We're always hustling. And I think a lot of female entrepreneurs, the ones I've coached anyways, they likely fall into that category in some way.
Totally.
And the idea that we have to be clear about what's the saboteur? What do we struggle with? Where does the self-judgment really get where do we get into trouble with that? Yeah. And then also, where are our boundaries? Like we want to give generously, but at what point does giving generously turn into being used? And that's going to be different for every human and for every circumstance. But yeah, we're not running charity organizations. We are in this to make money and feed our families and feed other families because we give money we support other people. And so at what point does that line turn into something that I can't, this isn't the right circumstance. I can't get on that 5th, can I pick your brain phone call?
Yes.
Like at some point, there's got to be a boundary there.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because it has over being in business 4 years, it's really challenged my perspective on what I think about greed, like what I think about money, like what I think about showing up. And there's people out there who I think take more than they give, and there's people out there who give way more than they take, and that's really like who I want to be. Yes. But what's been really like interesting has been like there's definitely like it's hard to spot sometimes, and you're deep in and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel good anymore.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that's really tough or has been really tough for me has been just being honest with people. Like, and I had somebody reach out to me and they wanted to do a collab, and I had given a lot of time and they never really fulfilled their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
And recently they've reached out again to ask for more things. And immediately I was like, okay, well, they asked, actually, that wouldn't take me that long to do. And it might impact them in a positive way. And I was like, but anything that I do for them right now is taking away from something else I'm not doing for myself or for somebody else. And like, that sucks. Like, that's like a tough season to be in, right? And so I had to tell that person, if you want me to do it, this would be the cost.
Yes.
And normally that wouldn't be like, I was like, oh, that wouldn't take me too long. I'd talk to them for 15 minutes and I'd make some interest for them and it'd be fine. But I was like, no, like I actually need to charge for some of this stuff. Yeah. And that sometimes is that hard line of like wanting to be generous, but also like you need to feed your family and you need to do things to make money. And so that's something I think, especially as women, like we struggle with is like wanting to be overly generous, knowing we're caretakers, like wanting to like give in that way, but also realizing sometimes that it's a little too far.
Yeah. And I think you said it right at the beginning. What's the feeling? Like when you get asked, when that request comes in, what is that gut reaction? Because I think we can feel it. I think our body has a lot to offer in terms of some data for this. And you said it, you had an icky feeling. And I think that's what we've got to pay attention to. And we override that a lot because our brain then gets in the way. But if we can pay attention to the icky feeling and just pause on that and reflect for a moment, we can recognize, wait a minute, I'm feeling a little used here. That's not going to work for me. And it's okay that I feel that, right? Like that is a reasonable thing to feel. Then I can make a really great decision about, okay, what are the different things I could do? What's the options? What's a great way to handle this so I still feel like it meets, kind of level with my values of generosity and integrity and all of those things. Yeah. But I don't end up feeling like I got sucked in. Like I think if we just pause for one moment and reflect, we can actually sort through that a whole lot more effectively and then move into action in a way that's real purposeful and intentional instead of feeling like we just reacted and then we get a kind of a shitty result in the end that we are not happy with.
Yeah, and it's like that whole like Glennon Doyle thing, which is like the worst person you could disappoint is yourself.
Yes.
And it's like we often are in a season where we're like nervous. Something I like hate being as someone's villain. Like I never want to be somebody's villain. And I had to come up with this like way of living that's kind of like, I am going to be people's villain. And like, that's going to suck because I'm not always going to do what they want me to do. That's going to make them happy. And I remember like when I was first pregnant, I was like truly exhausted. Like I was asleep like 24/7. Like, right. Like so many women have this experience and so many women have experiences worse than me. And, I was literally asleep. Like it was 16 hours a day. And I had someone reach out to do a podcast interview and I emailed them and I said like, you know what, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm just like not in the season for podcasting. Like I'm not even keeping up with my own podcast. Like I'm like barely hanging on over here as a human. Yeah. And this person went to our mutual friend and a mutual friend said to me, oh, that person had a pretty bad experience with you. Oh. And immediately I was like gutted. Like I was like, oh my God, I should have just done it. I should have just gotten on the podcast. Like even if it was bad. Yeah. And what I said to my friend after a few days, because I like, steamed for like, I was like steaming. But I went back to her and I said, I respect her more than going on and giving her a crappy podcast.
Yes.
And going on there and like looking like crap and feeling like crap and like being half asleep. And I know how much work goes into having a podcast, how much promotion. And if I was to be on her podcast, I would want to show up 100. Yes. And if she doesn't think that like, me being in this season is like worth like the moment for pause, she's actually not someone I even want to be connected with.
Well, and isn't that exactly it? Like if she can't have some empathy and be like, wow, I'm disappointed. I wanted to have Christina as a guest. I was excited. Yeah. I really respect that she is clearly not in a great place right now. And she just told me that she's newly pregnant and it's not going great. Yeah. I can have some empathy for her, but I can also recognize and own that I'm disappointed. I wanted her as that's okay. That's real and true. But actually shitting on someone because, well, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, that's not okay. And that's not leading effectively in your own business and leading effectively in your universe, in your network. I'm sorry.
And then that's someone I'm never going to circle back with, right? And I had a bunch of people who I had on my list from October and November that January 1st hit and I got like a second wind. And I messaged every single one of those people and I said, hey, if you'll still have me, I'm there. And I can't wait to show up for you. And I can't wait to promote it. And I can't wait to like be part of it. And people like, and people were like, yeah, of course. Like, thank you so much. Like, great. And I think that was such a good learning lesson for me that like, I can be that woman's villain and that's fine. Like, I don't need, but like, I use the same example in reverse where Lori Harder is a friend and mentor of mine and she's great. And, I kept being like, Lori, like, I'd love to have you on the podcast. I'm in Arizona. Could we record in person? Like, Lori. And Lori kept being like, I don't really record right before my events. Like, I don't like to do it. Like, it just stresses me out. Yeah. And I could have been like, wow, diva. Like, like, I can't believe she wouldn't, like, I'm coming from Canada. Like, why wouldn't she just take an hour? Like, whatever. But the way I took it was I was like, wow, that's an awesome boundary. Yeah. And like, I actually want her to show up like 10x at her event that I'm going to go to. And like, it'll happen. And
Yeah.
I went out to California. It happened. I'm going to be on her show later this week. Like, it was great. But if I had come with a different attitude,
Yes.
I wouldn't have the same results. And I think that's a big piece in the way that we show up, is that, like, as much graciousness, I guess, is that we could give to other people and ourselves.
Yes.
Like, when you show that to other people, like, there's a huge level of reciprocity that comes there. That isn't there when you're a goblin. That's the word I always use.
And like I said, when I see people like that, who really they're very judgmental of themselves. They're you see them, they're judgmental of others, right? As soon as something disappointing happens, as soon as it doesn't go their way, oh, that person's terrible, they're awful, it's all their. I recognize that actually on the inside, they're 100 times worse to themselves. Mm-hmm. And I have to make sure, especially as a coach, that I step into a space of real empathy. Like, if that's how they're showing up on the outside, I can only imagine what's going on the inside.
Totally.
It does not change my values. It does not change the boundaries that protect those values. It does not change how I show up in the world. It's an opportunity for reflection. I get to reflect and understand. Did I do what was in alignment for me? Because I think self-reflection is key. Could I have handled that better? Something else I could have said or done that they would have understood me more clearly? Yes, no, maybe so. But ultimately, it doesn't always have to be a yes. And for someone who is like the queen of the people pleasers, that word no is hard for me to say out loud.
Yes.
It always has been. But deep self-reflection in that, no, I am not for everybody. I can't say yes all the time and still do what my purpose leads me to do. And I can't be a yes person inside of my own business. Mm-hmm. I have to lead effectively. And sometimes that means it has to be a no, or not right now, or a maybe later.
Yeah. And honestly, I think I was at the beginning, and I think this is like the shows, like the age in business as we like grow up, right? Where it's like, but it's like at the beginning, I was like, every opportunity is a good opportunity. Everything, like, you got opportunity to meet all these great people. You have all this. And now I have to show so much more discernment because there's just like more constraints on my time. Sure. And even like I had a situation where somebody asked me if I'd speak for free in their community, which I love to do. I do it all the time. I'm happy to. Yeah. And we booked it and it was rebooked a number of times. And then the day was good. And then the advertising wasn't great and like whatever. And she kind of came back and was like, can we do it again? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't in alignment for me. And I was like, circle back with me in a few months and we can do this. But right now I have a priority of all these other people who've been asking, and I love doing this, but like, it has to make sense. Yeah. And I think also asking yourself, like, what are the things that move the needle in your business? What are the things that don't make you resentful? What are the things that you're doing that you're not like, oh my gosh, I hate doing that. Like, I had a client who launched a podcast with us, and she's like, I hate podcasting. I was like, stop podcasting.
It. Knock it off.
Stop it. Right? Like, you don't need it. You don't need it. Oh. And I'm the first person to tell you, we launch podcasts every month. Like, I love podcasting, but if that's actually something that you're going to get on there and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I hate this and I hate anybody and everybody that I don't want to do it, then that's going to bring you joy. And so I think, finding that way of trying to exercise that, I think, is a big piece of it as well.
Yeah. And I think we do get a lot of messages, right? Especially if you spend any time on social media at all. We got a lot of messages about what you should do. Yeah. And as soon as that word enters your head, you need to stop and analyze, is that real? Yeah. Or is that coming from somewhere else that is not in alignment? And you really need to examine that, because we get a lot of shoulds, right? And as soon as you're on social media and you get that icky feeling, turn the damn thing off, whatever it is. Stop watching it. Stop looking at it. Stop listening to that person, because we have enough shoulds. Yeah. Heads. We don't need somebody else's shoulds getting in the way.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. I love this. I think you're absolutely right when you say that leadership, we develop that, we grow that. Mm-hmm. And you were in leadership before you started your own business. Let's be clear. It's not like you were brand new, but it's different. It is so different when you start leading in your own business as opposed to leading a team inside of an organization. The complexion of leadership shifts. What do you think those biggest shifts have been?
I think it's truthfully like the biggest thing for me was like going from like being like, I'm still kind of a cog in the machine. Like, I got a manager, like, and to being like, I run the ship, like, with my business partner, but like, I do a lot of like, the decision-making and the forecasting and on all of that stuff. So that's been probably the biggest shift, but also how every decision, like when you work in something like higher ed, right? Like highly personal, like you do a lot of stuff, but I couldn't sit down and be like, these 8 hours contributed to this, and I could see this, and this is how this, like, while, when you run your own business, I look at my employees and I'm kind of like, why do you do that? Like, why do you do that like that? That's my retirement money. Like, we always like joke about that, but it's just, it has a different feeling when you're running your own business because you're so much more invested in the outcome. And I think that's also been an interesting part of being a leader too, is realizing that like, I was a great employee. Like I always joke about this. I'm always like, anyone would have been lucky to have me. I was a gem. I did anything anybody wanted. I worked all the time. I was the above and beyond person. I was the person who got first promoted. Like I had built like a really good career that I loved.
Yeah.
But I worked at a cost. Like I worked a lot through my 20s. I worked a ton, and like an unnatural amount, like it's not something I'm proud of. And because I don't actually, now I look back and I'm like, I should have partied. I should have partied and I should have slept.
Yeah. Like what did I get from all of that work?
Yeah.
Like what did I
especially because now that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm like not climbing anymore. So I'm kind of like, I left the ladder behind. But what's interesting is that like, I look back on that season and I was a great employee but a lot of those skills I cared a lot about my organization. I loved that. But no one loves our business like we love our business. Oh. And I think that's something that a lot of leaders make a mistake on is like, they think that like, okay, I've hired these people and now these people, they're going to work and they're going to be like little mini me's and they're going to love everything and they're going to love every task and it comes with the same issues that working in an organization does where you're like, oh, that person's actually not good at that. That's interesting. Or like, that's not as efficient as I thought that was going to be. And I think when you're the sole person responsible for it, that also means you're the sole person to make some tough choices. And that was something I always had someone else to lean on. I always had someone else to be like, well, it wasn't me, like, coming from the top. But now it is the top and it's coming from me. So people know, right? So I think those are kind of the main key changes, I would say.
I love that you called those out. And yes, let's be clear. No one is going to love and be as invested in your business as you are. And I have literally had business owners call me and say, I've got this team. Like, how do I get them to be as motivated as I am? And I'm like, okay, so first of all, they're not going to be. They don't own it. It doesn't belong to them. It's not their baby. And by the way, it's actually not your baby. It is a business. But what you can do is actually help them see how they connect to the vision of what you're trying to grow and the mission that you're on to change the world. Yeah. You can help them see how they contribute to that and how they're going to learn and grow as the business grows. You can help them see that, and that will motivate them to care more. Mm-hmm. So you can be clear with them about why the decisions are happening. You can listen to them when they say, hey, that thing you thought was going to be so awesome? Actually, it's really cumbersome and awkward and I don't like it. Oh, okay. That's what's going to help them connect and be motivated to deliver their best. Yeah. Never going to care about it the way you do because literally their life savings are not tied up in it the way
100%.
Right? Like it's not their retirement plan. It's ours.
Yes, 100%. And I think putting that pressure on them too is like, I really try not to, because I think it's like unnatural for me to be like, hey, just a reminder that like when you take an extra hour to do that, that's $25 away from my future child. Like, that's not how I want them to live. But it's just interesting. And I think actually bringing people in on the mission, the vision, the values of your business. And that's something that's been really big with our core team, has been talking about like, what do we see for 5 years? Like, what do we want? Like, where do we want to see them as part of the business growth? Yes. And also recognizing that some of them don't want to grow with your business. And like, that's also okay too, is that like, I've had employees where I'm kind of like, I actually don't think that this type of work is your kind of work. You're not being like, oh, but let's figure out where your next step is so that we can get you there. And I think that that's also magical too, is like you get to see what people are up to and really what they're good at and really lean into that.
100%. I had a business owner I talked to, this is a month or so ago, and she was having an issue with one of her people. And, she said to me, this person's really important. They do great work, but they're not doing this one thing. And can't we just tell them to do it? I'm like, well, what have you done? Well, I've had a couple conversations. I've told them to do it and they're just not doing it. And I'm like, okay, so we need to get underneath and understand, like, why are they not doing it? What is it that they're seeing or not seeing, experiencing or not experiencing? Well, I just want them to do it. Like, we could just tell them, I'm like, okay, but that's not working. You have to give them some why. They need to understand. And you've just told me that that's an important piece in reporting for your data. Well, let's help them understand how that data shows up and what that's going to do to help them in their work.
Totally.
Intrinsic motivation that you're going to use that data to make their life better and to grow their role and to grow the business. But just telling them to do it, sometimes that's just not good enough. And again, as a leader, we got to figure out how to get their imagination involved. So the motivation is on target.
Totally. Yeah. And I've even seen this with tasks myself where I'm a really quick worker, like probably why I love being an employee. Like I'm very fast. And some of the people I work with are not as quick as I am. And I'll be like, that shouldn't have taken that long. And they're like, no, it can't go faster. And I'm like, great. Good to know. Or I oversimplify processes. I'm like, just do this. And they're like, no, but you don't understand the complexity of it. And I'm like, yeah, you're actually right. I don't work in it every day. Like I don't get it.
Exactly. And just that self-reflection of I stop and listen. And I acknowledge as a business owner that no, I don't know everything.
Yes.
I don't know everything. And I'm hiring people because they know. They're better at that and smarter at that than I am. And I actually need to shut up and listen to them.
Well, especially when you have a team, especially when you have a team, like there's no point of having a team if you're not going to let them work. And so I think that's something that I really struggled with at the beginning was I would be like, do this, like do it like that, like whatever. And then now I'm kind of in a season where I'm like, we had a team retreat in Nashville last week, our team got together and there were things they were talking about and I was like, I have no idea what that is. I do not know. But there's an SOP and like, if one of them got hit by a bus, like hopefully not, but like, I would have everything there. Yes. But it's like, I don't need to be in the day to day. So I think it's really about building those systems as an entrepreneur too, of like, I actually sometimes think people aren't actually ready for team members from a mindset perspective because they just want to do the work themselves. And they don't want to, but
I thank you for saying that because that is one of the biggest hurdles. I have business owners come to me all the time. I want to grow my business. I recognize I can't do it by myself or with my little team. I got 5 or 6 people. I recognize that this team of 6 is going to be a team of 12 in like 12 months because we're growing. And it can be the most difficult part is actually getting into a leader's head, quieting that trash talk conversation and getting them to actually have confidence that they've hired the right people and those really smart people are going to deliver. And then how do they need to keep in touch with the work? Well, you need to know, Christina, what your team is doing and how they're delivering. But you don't need to know how they're doing the work every day. That can be the hardest part. And I really appreciate you bringing that out because that work is absolutely critical to building a high-performing team. You've got to be ready to be a high-performing leader.
Love that.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, my gosh. I actually hate that we have to wrap up this conversation because there is so much unsaid, like so much more to talk about.
You're going to be on my podcast, so that'll be a nice, part 2.
Part 2. Yes, stay tuned, everyone. Part 2 coming up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that we were able to make this happen. This has been such an incredible conversation about how to be a great leader and all the stuff that you've gone through. And I appreciate the vulnerability here because sometimes it's not easy to share that, I totally goosed it. Did not deliver on that one, right? But I really appreciate you stepping into it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. And I'm so excited to hear what resonates with people. We built our agency over the last 4 years and, it's been great, but obviously made tons of mistakes. So I want to hear what resonates with people. Any friend of Lindsay's is a friend of mine. So feel free to shoot me a DM and let me know what resonated with you.
Yeah. Tell us where everybody can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So the best place would be Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm Christina Bartold with a K. So that's kind of the best place. And then if you're a Canadian woman, checking out highvibewomen.ca is a great place for you to go. Or if you're in need of social media or podcasting services, go to thesocialsnippet.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Super grateful for your time today. And yes, we would love, if you have any comments, any thoughts, please leave those comments for us, whether you find us on Instagram or LinkedIn, or even at the bottom of the show notes. We would love to hear what you think about today's show. Thank you again, my friend. Super glad to be able to have this chat with you. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Female Founder Unplugged. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with me on Instagram at High Volt Leadership and send me your questions or let me know your biggest takeaway. Looking for more strategies on scaling your business, building a powerhouse team, or leading with confidence? Head over to highvoltageleadership.ca or follow me on LinkedIn for exclusive content, resources, and special offers just for listeners. Until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and remember, the real magic happens when you're unplugged.
This podcast is produced, mixed, and edited by Cardinal Studio. For more information about how to start your own podcast, please visit www.cardinalstudio.co or email Mike at mike@cardinalstudio.co. You can also find the details in the show notes.